So, thank you very much for being with us. We have some, as always, an idea about a theme we want to talk about, which is empathy for vanity. I wanted to start to ask Aaron and Albert whether vanity is something that you like to use or exploit in your work? Okay.
It's healthy.
You need to, I guess.
Personally, I am not like this, but Karl Lagerfeld said, vanity, it's okay, it's healthy. You know, in the sense that it's some kind of objective, not knowledge, because this will be more deeper, but I don't know. It's I don't know, something that it works with this kind of, I mean, it's a competitive behavior between people. And when the camera is in front of this competitive behavior, you know, you have to show your strength. So it's like in social life, but amplified because of the camera, that it's, as I said at the introduction of my film, more, you know, it's more the insightful. The camera, it's more, you know, it's deeper. So then you have to be more careful, because it doesn't work, you know, just to simply, you know, the fight with the other. This can work on theater, this can work on real life, but in cinema, this is not enough. So there, vanity plays a role, a very important role, but it has to be aesthetic. You know, the aesthetics.
Do you have a method to use it, to do something with it?
Yes, but it's always adapting to the people I have in front of the camera. I don't know. But I mean, for me it's very important, because, and it's funny, because it was create some fight between actors, and, you know, it's a eternal story, you know. In his film, we see a little bit of this, you know. There is several films inside. So, you know, what people, how do they behave for the camera? They behave, what are their real interests when they are performing? You never know. If it's, you know, their interests are, you know, in the people that it's around, or it's be in the history of cinema history, or I don't know. So you have to deal with this. And Warhol was the main master of all this thing, or Fassbinder, you know, she can talk better than me. But I mean, just to take profit of this idea of that there is no persons, there is no actors, there is no characters, there is only vanity. The vanity of somebody being shooted, and then it can spread in different tricky ways. And you have to deal with this, and this is the only interesting point. And it's not very, it's healthy, because it's competitive and it's objective, but at the same time it's dark in some sense, as we saw on some of the films of the filmmakers in the past.
How about you, Aaron?
Well, I think vanity is often synonymous with beauty, and like beautiful people are vain. And of course it's not true, anybody can be vain. But I think vanity carries the implication of futility, vain or in vain. And vanity is a kind of futile belief, or futile elevation of one's own beauty or accomplishments. So it's that futility that I react to, or that I latch on to. And I think that people who are thought of as undeserving of vanity, people who are unattractive, or who people deem unattractive, or who are failures, they're really, that means vanity to me, because there's a futility, because to hold on to your dignity or your pride, that feels more like vanity to me, whereas beautiful people, or people who are successful, that feels just more like pride or arrogance. So I do like to use vanity, but I think I like to exploit the futility of the futile side of vanity. I don't know, but I should say I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't believe anything I'm saying.
No, but you can be a failure in real life and a star on a screen. This is the main point, you know. This is a very strange, tricky point that people is unacceptable, even for the crew on the film. You know, that somebody that is a failure in the real life, but it's a star on the film. You know? And this is a subversive side of Warhol has been that, you know, all these people that create the stars from, you know, that the vanity side was so impressive that it could, you know, go over I wouldn't say the conventional quality of performance.
And both your films are very different, but you both have, I feel, a fascination with the bodies, the presence of the bodies in front of the camera.
Dramaturgy of presence. Dramaturgy of presence.
Yeah.
Not dramaturgy of action. Dramaturgy of presence. It was Jean Duchette who created this idea of that it's not a dramaturgy based on what happens or the action, but it's on the presence. You know, the reverberation of the presence already creates a dramaturgy. And this is very important, and the vanity side of this, obviously, is necessary.
You like to play with both, I guess, with different kinds, Aaron, with different kinds of, I mean, the presence and with the action.
I think for me, what my film is concerned with is the way that people are portrayed in films, and trying to be very conscious of what a shot of somebody, how they are portrayed in a film, how that resonates with the audience, and sort of avoiding the traps and being mindful of you know, the way. For instance, somebody coming out of a shadow, or what does that mean? Or, you know, in a lot of my film, there's sort of these soft introductions of characters. You sort of first see them in a wide shot with a bunch of other people, so as not to. Well, I mean, the thing about Orson Welles in my movie, it's sort of about how you know, I've noticed that the only people who are ever introduced in films from behind or coming out of the shadows are people who are disfigured or celebrities, like you know, Orson Welles coming out of the shadows in The Third Man or the Muppet movie, or you know, many examples of monsters who you never see for half the movie, but you know that you see them in shadow, and so I was trying to draw that parallel between. So I guess celebrities and people with disfigurements. I don't know if this answers your question.
It's where genre comes in as well, right? An interest for how horror film can work.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, I made my film about a horror film because, you know, I wanted to sort of understand the mechanics of how a horror film works and sort of show it being put together, and sort of how dehumanizing it can be to make one. What am I doing?
You make good music.
Am I pounding? Am I constantly pounding? I should drink more rum before I answer any more questions.
I guess this is a sign also that we need to include the other half of the table.
No, because in English, I was so afraid again.
It's not on yet, I guess. Wait, the microphone is not on.
French.
You need to turn on the microphone, sorry.
J'étais effrayée alors. Oui, merci. J'étais effrayée dans ce film encore d'Albert, Albert Serra, avec lequel j'ai eu l'honneur de travailler. Et le grand plaisir, c'est trop dit, mais bon, j'aime beaucoup ce travail-là, mais j'étais effrayée encore de cette chose muette où un gros bébé
I'm sure everybody understands. Wait, I'm sure everybody understands French here, but let me just let me translate, because I'm sure there might be one person who doesn't understand French in here.
Oui, d'accord,
Vielleicht
pardon.
besser. Aber ich übersetze trotzdem kurz, oder? I'll translate very shortly. So, Ingrid...
Non, je peux chanter
not
aussi, je dois pas parler.
not everybody understands German either. So she just said.
Also,
so I worked with Albert.
Ich war so entsetzt in diesem Film wieder von dem Albert,
And I was afraid.
der sehr gut spricht und sehr viel Sprache hat und auch eine deutliche Sprache und eine von heute. Und es geht immer darum, dass es keine mehr gibt eigentlich in seiner Arbeit. Und das ist ja etwas, was wir kennen, und unser Blabla, auch das, was ich jetzt mache, dieses Blabla, das heißt ja nicht viel. Und es hat mich selbst wirklich wieder ganz schrecklich getroffen, diese Unfähigkeit, etwas auszudrücken, weil eigentlich ist er ja so weit, dass er endlich, wie man auf Deutsch gut sagt, es auskotzen möchte, sich auskotzen möchte. Das heißt ja auf Deutsch, man muss es endlich mal sagen, man muss es endlich mal formulieren können. Aber dazu gehört natürlich auch ein Ohr, jemand, der dazuhört. Und den gibt es ja auch nicht mehr. Dieser jemand, der dazuhört oder wo man das Gefühl hat, es ist jemand da, der zuhört, gibt es nicht. Und Albert spricht viel drumherum, aber er hat diese Themen, diese modernen Themen Ingrid, sind in Ingrid, all seiner Arbeit.
Ingrid, I need to translate for the people who don't understand. So I'll just briefly look. Is there anyone who doesn't understand German? I'm sure there is. Yeah. Okay. So Ingrid started with saying that she worked with Albert before, and he's a very eloquent person, and she was not only afraid, but she was struck by this speechlessness about which what the film deals with. And
he can speak, he can write, and he has a language, but in his work he doesn't want the language, and this has to do, I think, with our
microphone?
Time now, very très fort.
Okay. I guess, did you hear that? Yeah, thank you. Horst Bredekamp, professor. Professor for art history at Humboldt-Universität. Just to come back to the terms empathy and vanity. Are those two terms for you fruitful when you look at those two movies?
Yeah, both films impressed me very much and also disturbed me, both. Both films impressed me very much and also they disturbed me, exactly in these two terms. And if I may, I would put three observations or questions to you and another one to you, maybe afterwards. I didn't quite understand the levels in your film. We have firstly the narrative, which is filmed on the screen. Then we have scenes which are filmed, performed by the camera, but we are observer of the camera that takes the shot. Then we have the dream, dream spheres which come in the narrative, and if I'm not wrong, we have dream scenes which are filmed. And these three levels, it did not always get together. And especially, we are in Germany when the Nazi came up. I didn't understand the Nazi doctor with the euthanasia, who, well, that was too obvious. And in what level did he act? So this is my question. My second point is a critique. I was struck by the, even disgusted is too strong, but I was irritated by the frontality of the faces. You change between this fantastic introitus of the so-called monster, out of the shadow 5 times. So you have the light from from the side, so that this head becomes a sculpture, three-dimensional sculpture. But when you film people into the face, they don't come, the camera does never come from the side, but always frontally. So the people become masks. And this irritated me, and this would be a question if this is systematic or just camera work. And the third point is my interpretation now, if I may. In my view, intuitively, the most decisive moment came when the actors went into the room where the film was to be seen. Because it was so convincing that when the handicapped people came into the scene, nobody noticed it. They were normal, so to speak. But in the very moment when the narrative was seen, mirrored on the film screen, the problem came from that moment onward. That was destructive. And I thought that your film, through this scene, is a fantastic reinterpretation of Heinrich von Kleist's Marionettentheater. So people act intuitively. That is a ballet dancer who is performing perfectly, absolutely perfectly. In that very moment that she sees herself in the huge mirror of the ballet room, she becomes reflexive, loses her intuitive internal security, and cannot dance anymore. So the normal behavior, because before this reflection of the film was away, and all the problems started. With Kleist, the telos is, the end is, you can't go back to naivety. You have to go through the technique and then get it back on a higher level. And that was, well, then comes the soul on a technical level, so to speak. The technique is in soul. And that is my question. That would have been my interpretation. These were my 3 points. I have also some to you, but I would like to stop here.
Aaron.
I'll hold my mic in two hands so as not to bang on the table. But I can't promise that I'll make it to the end of this question without pounding. The Nazi Doctor was the film within the film was about. It was a lot of films about mad scientists, especially eugenics, are about. That's the cliche that either they have some kind of secret Nazi past or are Nazis. So that was the film within a film, and I brought that. I wanted to bring eugenics into it, but not only Nazi eugenics, also American eugenics, which the Nazis learned from, and that's why they're staying in this hotel, which Carnegie ran, and he has a eugenic history. I just wanted to allude to these films about, it's sort of a shorthand about mad scientists, about Nazi doctors. And then the other thing I wanted to do with that was, the film is in part about the way films, especially Hollywood films, use shorthand to make us, to create stereotypes about people. Somebody with a scar on their face usually has some kind of dark past. Also in American films, anybody with an accent, a foreign accent, is usually suggested to have some kind of, look, I'm pounding already. My hand came off the microphone. I don't know, when did that happen? Any kind of foreigner in an American film is shady in some way, and I think of like Max von Sydow and his American career is always usually German, although he's Swedish, and I think, and usually some kind of dark figure, and then I think of him in Wild Strawberries, where he's like a goofy gas station attendant. And I just think, anybody here who wants to move to Hollywood and be an actor, like, you will be cast as some kind of dangerous person. Sorry?
Yourself.
Yes, and me. So, that's where the sort of Nazi thing came into it. But the only level in which there's a Nazi doctor is in the film within a film. Although it's connected with the doctor at the clinic, the plastic surgeon, and asking if that is in itself a kind of eugenics. As for the layers of the film, there are a few. I always tried to provide some kind of rational explanation for what level we were going to. It was never a random decision for me. I was never trying to be confusing, but I also wanted it to be largely irrelevant. I mean, at a certain point, I felt like if we explored an issue from one point of view, that it was time to move on, go into another level and explore it from a different point of view. And I hoped that at a certain point, you could sort of piece it together, but also that would be irrelevant. And so, yeah, there's the filming of the film, there's the film within a film, there's the film that the people with physical disabilities are making, and which we're seeing her tell us. And then things get a little more confusing, but and then we come back out of it, and but it ultimately doesn't really matter to me. But I did try to provide rational explanations for it. Have I answered your questions?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Another thing that your two films have in common is that you both challenge your spectators, and I feel have a lot of empathy for them. Maybe is there one or the other that comes first, the challenge of the spectator or the empathy for them?
I mean, I try not to think about the spectator because I think of myself as the spectator. So I really am just thinking about how I would react to this and trying not to bore myself and trying not to do anything. I mean, for me in a movie, if especially in a Hollywood film, once the plot is laid out for you and you sort of are waiting for the inevitable, I get completely bored. So I feel like once we've sort of established some kind of plot, I'd rather move beyond it to something else and challenge the spectator in that sense, I guess. I don't want to. I feel like people understand a lot intuitively, and like you don't need to continue your train of thought once something is clear in a movie. I don't know if that makes sense.
How about you, Albert?
A challenge is empathy, because you think about the highest, audience, and that there will be challenge, and for them being challenged, it means that it's, it's some kind of empathy for the film because it's what they are looking for. So for me, it's this idea as if it was for me, as a viewer or as a reader of a book or whatever. I want to be challenged, and this challenge creates empathy because it's. I don't know what it's. You're looking for something different. So.
One reason I didn't make the protagonist or lead character, or whatever you want to call it, of my film Rosenthal or a disfigured person is because I found that for me when I watched, I've probably seen every film about disfigurement, and I found most of them lacking because if the protagonist is disfigured, often audience identification is considered a kind of empathy. You can empathize with anybody on screen, but I think it's possible for a white supremacist to, watch a African American character, a lead character, and empathize with them in a sense, or identify with them, and get beat up by white supremacists in the film and really feel angry about that. But I don't think that that's empathy. I think that it's just identifying with certain sort of emotion, very, very broad emotions, and it's like playing a video game. You can be a cop in one game, and you can be the robber in the other game, and you really don't have anything riding on it. So I felt like films about disfigured characters, you're not really empathizing with them. You're just sort of identifying with certain aspects of yourself. I mean, we know that everybody else is as human as we are, and that if they get hurt, we wouldn't want to be in their position. That's obvious. So that's why I made the protagonist of my film somebody who was dealing with those emotions, and I was hoping that through that, the audience or the viewer would have to deal. That's what the audience would be empathizing with, is her own sort of struggle to empathize with this other character. And so I tried to keep him at a distance.
I want to ask you.
Take the microphone, please. Could you?
Ich möchte Sie was fragen, die beiden Directors. Und zwar habe ich gestern wieder so eine Erfahrung gehabt mit mir selbst. Also die Maskenbildnerin konnte nicht kommen. Ich musste mich selber, I had to make my make-up, my own make-up, ich selbst Make-up gemacht. Und das hat so lange gedauert, weil ich auch nicht mehr so gut sehe mit dem Strich hier und dann noch auch. Und dann hier noch machen, und das hat sehr lange gedauert, und dann habe ich ganz viel Maske gemacht und so, und dann habe ich auch die Haare, die dünnen Haare nicht mehr gewollt, da habe ich die Perücke aufgesetzt, und es war immer toller und toller, also, und dann habe ich mir einen Mund geschminkt, größer denn je natürlich, weil ich auch nicht richtig gesehen habe, und alles wurde immer schöner und es ist wirklich wahr. Ich habe dann aufgehört und hätte eigentlich weggehen müssen und habe mich angeschaut, und es war wirklich wahrscheinlich ganz viel schön. Und ich habe mich ganz ein Monster gesehen, und zwar wirklich ganz schrecklich von innen. Ich habe wieder etwas erlebt, und zwar über diese Maske und mit dieser schönen Perücke und mit allem ganz toll, habe ich etwas Schreckliches wieder gehabt, was ich halt als Kind, als ich krank war, immer hatte mit diesem, weil ich viel gelähmt war und viel Allergie hatte und war immer zwischen Monster und dann war ich wieder die hübsche Kleine, die so eine schöne Stimme hat und so. Und das kommt immer mal wieder, aber wie komisch, dass es kommt, wenn ich so eine schöne Maske selbst mir mache. Das ist sehr seltsam, durch die Maske.
Okay, so I want to.
I hope that question wasn't directed at me. I didn't understand.
Well, I'm about to translate. So I want to ask something directly of you two about. Yesterday I had this situation where I was supposed to get makeup, and the lady who was supposed to do it didn't come, and so I had to do it myself. It took a very long time. I put a lot on me, and I fixed my hair. I put a big mouth, and I put on a wig, and I got more and more beautiful. And then I realized that this is a mask. And
No, I didn't realize nothing.
Didn't?
I saw myself in the mirror, and it was beautiful. And I saw something horrible, not because of the mask, something else. I couldn't see me like that. I couldn't. And I was remembering, it was remembering me of when I was little. I was every time much ill and allergic and asthma and paralyzed. And then I was like a monster, and then the next day I was beautiful, and I had a voice, and people told me, "Oh, the little beautiful girl." Oh. And I thought they are crazy, but I was very adult. J'étais immer die Erwachsene dann. Wieder
I was the adult.
When I saw this film, Albert,
But it's a classic feeling.
Mask,
The actors,
I was
I mean,
afraid.
they want to feel beautiful, and it's important on the vanity side, and I think that it's a key point that they feel, I don't know, safe and comfortable and even, you know, expansive on this side, but they have bad taste. Because if not, they will not need a filmmaker. So they will direct the film themselves. So
because they have bad taste. They need a director.
Of course. And they have this feeling that it's very powerful and it's not capable. I am myself. If not, I will be. I will be an actor myself, and I have never been there. So, so this feeling, this desire, it's very powerful and very, I don't know, sophisticated in some sense and complex. You know, tricky, and with dark sides. This the vanity side. It's one part of this side, but then it's a matter of taste. At the end, because what we see, it's the visible. So they need the filmmaker to put it on taste, and then if the filmmaker puts some, they say that some taste, but even it can be wrong. The filmmaker, but in general, put some safe side, and then they can start to perform. Because it's a mix of this insecure feeling, but also this extreme desire. But you have to have this desire of being, exhibitionist and show and whatever. If not, you will not be an actor. A normal person has no interest. There is always an artificial side of being shoot, because if there is no artificial side, it's boring.
In the scene of the piece of you, in that scene, a scene of the piece of Liberty here in Berlin of Serra, and there's a scene I have to sing about with a Maske, mit einer Maske vor mir. Und ich habe da zu singen. Und an manchen Tagen, wenn ich etwas müde war oder abwesend, dann kamen da Töne, die ich, ohne dass ich die Maske vorgehalten hätte, nie hätte machen können. Und das waren aber Töne, die mich erschreckt haben, die nicht das waren, was ich wollte, was ich unter Kontrolle hatte. Und andere Leute fanden das erstaunlich oder so, aber ich selbst fand das irgendwie schrecklich. Und ohne die Maske, die ich vorgehalten habe, wäre es bestimmt nicht passiert. Also ich weiß das.
So in this play, Liberté, I played in, which Albert Serra directed. In certain days, so I had a mask and in front of me, and in certain days I felt so tired that sounds came out that I would have never been able to do before and I would have never been able to do without the mask. And I found it terrible. Other people found it interesting or good.
Yeah.
It's because fragility. Fragility, vanity and fragility, these are the two points of the same, also the two sides of the same coin, and we play with that, because if there is no fragility, there is no truth in some sense, So filmmakers have to play with this. There is vanity, there is no artificial beauty, because if not, it will be real life, and real life it's boring. All of you are boring unless there is a filmmaker that is shooting you. Unless there is somebody with fantasy or even a camera, pointing you in a super strict and.
You can save us from being boring.
No, save you from being irrelevant in life in general. No.
Yeah,
this is
I
not
hear it.
No. This is not it's not a.
But there's someone who's going to reply.
No. But this is a main point. It's a very important point, because you cannot be relevant in life unless you are, you write something or you do something that it will be very important. But you can be physically relevant. On a space and time, on the the whole wall, occupy space and time physically, and this is quite important too. If you don't have something that is invisible but will last forever, it's the only way. And actors, and for the reason they are praised and they are loved and they are, so it's not so. I am always against actors because they don't deserve what they have. This is the point. This is a moral point. I hate actors, but this is a moral point. But it's not that, the objective content, it's real and it's true and it's, I admire. And if not, I will never be a filmmaker, I will be a writer. And I will decide to keep, to forget these people and be on my own, alone, and that's all. No, this is the main point. I mean, this is the really main point of this vanity subject of this conversation.
And it's also
because if not, why don't you? Why not? You will be a writer, and be alone and forget these people and all these fucking problems that we are not interested in, and that they are problematic and crazy and forgettable. It's because there is something at the end that justifies this. Even for me, well, maybe they said you are lazy and maybe you should do your effort as a writer. Okay, but if it's not this extreme point, just behind this. It's about this, it has unforgettable physical content, and it's about beauty in a wider sense. I mean, it's not about beauty in a conventional academic sense. It's about beauty because there is a lot of things that scare us that attract us at the same time. So from this point of view, we are not in a fashion défilé, no? Comment on dit ça, no? So if there is scary things that attract us, is that we are not in a fashion thing. It's more complex than that. What I mean?
Don't put the microphone away. Horst, Bredekamp, I think you want to say something.
It's difficult to explain, but...
As far
take the microphone closer.
As far as I can understand you, what you just said is below the level of your films, because you talked about psychology. Your films have nothing to do with psychology.
Oh no.
Beg your pardon. One cannot, I think, judge the film we saw today without your film about Louis XIV, which was, well, of course, that is, in my view, absolutely necessary to take your film about Louis XIV, and that was, in my view, this is my interpretation now. It has nothing to do. Well, it has to do with psychology. But of course, everything is psychological. But it is state theory and the condition of society of our time. What you have brought forward in your former film on the death of Louis XIV, it is a chamber play where the king is dying. He is in the bed for all the time. This is Louis XIV, about whom Michel Foucault wrote his, apart from others, other rulers, Überwachen und Strafen, observance, and Foucault made the great mistake that he took the vision of the absolute king, like Louis XIV, only in one side. The absolute power, the sovereign, Louis XIV, was regarded his whole life from the other side. There was not 1 second in his whole life, day and night, when he was not observed. And that is what your film is all about. And you must have read Louis Marin, Le Portrait du Roi, a colleague from Paris who came from the revolutionary group Out, and argued the persona of Louis XIV, and you show that brilliantly in your film, doesn't exist. Because he is the incorporation of the state. When everybody is incorporated within him, he is nothing, and that he is that is the reason why he is mirroring the emptiness of himself through theater, through opera, through all these festivities. And now comes your film of today. That is the same thing. The absolute loneliness of people who are observed all the time.
It's the key of cinema. This is cinema in general.
Wait.
Hier ist nicht ganz leer, ne? Hier ist voll.
No, he is.
He is not completely empty.
Also der Bauch ist ganz voll.
Yeah.
Ja. Der ist doch nicht leer hier.
Because
He is not empty.
the stomach is full because of cancer. He is dying.
Because
Because of cancer, he is dying.
No, der hat zu viel gegessen.
Yeah, no.
He ate too much.
He likes to eat. He is really plenty of eating.
He is dying.
And of his pipi also.
Well, it says something about the banality of death. You know, that you can die because of cancer or because of eating too much.
He's
you know,
eating too much
You
himself.
don't know.
He is eating and il boit lui-même. Mais moi j'ai vu ça.
I make it very short. The second film is the same situation transported in our times, in the white cube of an exhibition space. You see absolutely what Louis XIV was in his time. You see in this person, this dying person in our
Exhibition,
times.
permanent exhibition.
And my question would be, if you saw Faust in Venice, the performance in the German pavilion, which was exactly this situation, people below the glass, acting, lying there, like this dying person, and people observing with and without empathy. And that is the situation of our times, which can be compared with the time of radical absolutism, where you are continuously observed and observed by yourself. And this is this absolute distraction of empathy. And I thought that this is your whole sense, which is
I
also
agree.
statement.
It's a I agree. I totally agree. And for this, no, because this idea was to make, some kind of a strange point of view, to change the point of view. Obviously, the images are very different of one film to another one, but it's the point of view that change, So it was the idea to make it, more dubious, more, the idea of observing death. It's not humanistic, it's another kind of a strange point of view we have nowadays. Even artistically, it can be different. But, I don't know, what you say, it's interesting in the sense.
I thought of Tracy Emin, I think the most ingenious sculpture in the last 30 years, The Bed, 1999. 3 days of her bed with traces of illness, of sexual intercourse, etc. The publication of the most intimate as a sign of our times. And that's what your film was also all about. Yeah. So.
Aber es ist doch auch ein dickes Baby, was nicht zum Leben kommt und gleichzeitig auch ein dickes, was kurz vorm Sterben steht, nicht? Auch. Und das ist natürlich eine weite Spanne, die mich selbst ganz verrückt gemacht hat mit dieser Maske und dieser zarten Behandlung der Perücke und der Maske, diese Zartheit vom Regisseur her, diese Perücke und diese Masken und diese Hülle, wo die Hülle und die Verpackung wichtiger wird als alles. Ja, haben Sie recht, als alles Psychologische und Innere. Also die Verpackung,
So
die Perücke, ja.
It's also a fat baby, so with a soft skin and all the wig and the everything surrounding it.
Und Zartheit mit dem Licht und
There's something very soft about it.
Doch von diesem Regisseur, der über Zartheit natürlich nie was sagen möchte.
From this director who never wants to say anything about softness.
No, but it's about when something is born in front of the camera, because the actor is so innocent and so ridiculously stupid that, to deal these people with sophisticated images and subjects, it creates some kind of, a very strange feeling of, that, something is cinematically born for the first time. This was my point, and when I said at the beginning of the introduction that there was something in the camera that is revealing that I didn't say with my own eyes, what was impossible. It's this idea that there is something that it cannot be born, outside the camera. Oh, sorry, outside the idea of a film, of making a film, outside the idea of artificial construction. So it cannot be in real life. You cannot perceive it. So this is the point. And then, if it's so, it's amplified. It's an amplification of the birth of, I don't know what, I don't understand, I only use one camera, and when I saw the images, I decided that it should be a film. So, it's not that I had any idea of what you see here.
You also use some motives, some things like...
But for the performance, not for the camera. This was a performance on a gallery, not for a camera. You don't understand this difference. If I shoot a film, I will shoot with 3 cameras. I will put some crazy manipulation on the people, and I will pay. This is super pure. It's for this reason I said at the beginning. It's gold. You will pay the ticket. What you will pay, it's in gold. You will receive it in gold.
I don't understand.
You don't understand? It's easy to understand. What you pay, it's 4 euros or 3 euros here, and you receive images that it will be 3 kilos in gold. Yeah. Because it's so pure, it's from the mine. It's from mining people that it's getting it with a crazy, super innocent effort. It's not like, making a film. You are having, the primitive at the beginning. It's at the beginning of what an image can capture without our knowledge. It's coming back at the beginning of Lumiere or whatever, but in an extremely sophisticated mind behind. This is the paradox. You don't understand because it's about of digital. But okay. It's difficult to explain this because, yes, but okay.
Est-ce que c'est ça
No, really. It's not.
No, right. No, but other thing, est-ce que weiß Albert, dass manchmal, dass Luis, den ich so liebe, Luis, ich habe mit ihm gespielt jetzt, dass ihn manchmal die Augen gefilmt hat, wie von dem Dick und Doof, den Laurel, von dem Laurel and Hardy.
Do you know that Luis, you filmed his eyes like Hardy and Laurel?
Of course, it's a great inspiration on this film. Not Keaton, not Chaplin, because they were very intelligent, but the dispersion in English, of Manny Farber.
And this was the director, because I know Luis, he has not this. But this is the magic of the director and the volunteer of the director. It's not the camera only who invited.
But there is an important Laurel and Hardy film. Laurel and Hardy concept.
Only the camera.
Not controlling the space and time. As I said at the beginning, I didn't say anything to him during 4 hours. So it means that you don't control the space. He doesn't have a watch. He doesn't know what's going on during 4 hours. After 4 hours, it's very interesting in the film. Well, it will be more concrete, and here it is not maybe the place to talk on concrete on my own film. But on time, he's losing all the perspective of the articulation or a structure of time. Me too, because I didn't want to shoot a film, so I wasn't there. Then space. It's horrible. It's absurd. It's a space. It's a gallery. He doesn't know anything. You see the decor. It's absurd. It's theatrical, but extremely physical, because it's 4 hours and you have to be there, and it looks like, and he's a stupid guy. So I said, you have to represent Louis XIV. Not stupid, but stupid in a very strange way. You have to represent Louis XIV during 4 hours. Louis XIV, and with the wig, and he likes to do, and the gestures he do of sophistication. It's like Peter Ustinov in Quo Vadis. It's even more sophisticated. And he touches the mustache and all these things. Even not Jean-Pierre Léon. Nobody can do this. So it's the pure gesture of the actor.
Ich denke auch, dass man diesen Körper, diese Figur, dieses Objekt, dass man das so gerne hat, denke ich, hat auch damit zu tun, dass es also schon wirklich jenseits fast zu einem kleinen oder dicken oder Tierchen stilisiert ist. Also entweder Baby oder also großes sterbendes Baby oder auch schon etwas wie ein Tier, das hilflos ist. Also dass das schon gar nicht mehr nur menschlich ist, sondern dass es noch weitergeht, etwas, was man wieder gerne haben kann. Und das ist so irgendwo entsetzlich, aber auch entsetzlich richtig, dass das, was da gar nicht mehr sich formulieren kann und gar keine Wörter mehr findet, um seine Unbehagen auszudrücken, dass das aber dann so behandelt wird, dass es nicht wunderschön, ist auch falsch. Das Monster wird eigentlich zu einem Tierchen, dem kann man ja nichts zuleide tun. Und das ist etwas, was auch mit unserer Zeit hat, was entsetzlich ist, aber was dieser Albert eben, also für mein Gefühl, wo ich sogar mit ihm gearbeitet habe, an der Grenze des Erträglichen ist, weil es so richtig ist. Entsetzlich.
I think that this body and this figure, you start to like it so much because it's stylized, because it becomes not only a baby but more like a little animal.
Yes,
like,
because you can make
a rat.
Non, un rat.
Yes,
C'est pas
a
dit
rat.
c'est un rat. Non,
Ah,
c'est
ouais,
pas.
je l'ai dit.
Non, mais c'est pas un rat. C'est beaucoup plus
Non,
joli
mais
comme
là,
rat.
quand il va
Ah,
dans
c'est
les
faux. Das ist wieder falsch, weil die Ratte. Das ist
Not
wieder.
a
Das
rat,
ist
not a
Marcel
rat.
Proust. Nein.
So he can't talk, he can't articulate. This monster becomes a small animal, and it's at the limit of what you can bear. It's at the limit of what you can bear, and even though I worked with him, for me it's very difficult to bear it.
Yes, you can make, du kannst einem Menschen kannst du ja noch wehtun, auch wenn er monstrig ist oder so, du kannst ihn verletzen, du darfst den Menschen verletzen, aber ein hilfloses Tierchen darf man ja nicht verletzen, habe ich manchmal gedacht. Es gibt ja so viele, die jetzt für die Tiere eintreten, die man so beschützen und retten muss, nicht? Das sind viele Leute, die da eher dran denken als irgendwelche Immigranten, nicht? Zum Beispiel. Tierchen darf man ja nicht verletzen. Und hier geschieht
you can hurt a human, but you cannot hurt an animal, and there are many people who will defend the rights of animals and not the rights of humans, because they're delivered. They don't have any help. They can't help themselves.
Er zaubert da etwas Unmenschliches hin, was man so lieb haben muss.
I can only think in concrete terms. I beg your pardon. I have a question to your last scene. All I bring forward are questions and trials to understand. So, why the scene with the Nigerian filmmaker as a taxi driver? I thought that you, I questioned myself why you added this sequence, because this woman who has such an incredible empathy towards Rosenthal. And this is a very special event, a very special thing, that she creates this empathy to this reincarnation of the Elephant Man. And why does she not resist to the Nigerian man who very easily overruns her, and why doesn't she resist to his questions, to his approaches? So by doing so, she becomes a type, so to speak, that does not specially react on Rosenthal, but in general. And this, in my view, and this is definitely a question again, makes her case, in my view, stronger, weaker.
Can someone pass the rum over here? Have that.
Your responsibility.
Well, I don't know for sure that she develops any empathy towards Rosenthal. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that's it's not wrong. I think that it's ambiguous, and I think how much her relationship to him is professional, or it's, for one thing, it's taking place. She is being on display at all times. Everybody is watching them relate. And that's a reason that I had it take place on a film set, because everybody understands why those two are together. And so she's performing in a sense, but whether she ever transcends that performance is ambiguous. I don't want to, to me the final scene is also ambiguous. And, I think that, for one thing, it's realistic in a sense. If you've ever sat in the back of a cab and had somebody talk to you, you don't always want to relate to them, although sometimes you may be attracted by or sometimes you do want to relate to somebody or hear somebody who has a different background, or you want to be kind. But also, she may be still dealing with this experience, this big experience that she just had, and not wanting to deal with this person. But one thing I wanted to do with that scene also was, again, I wanted to empathize with her. If the scene had taken place with the camera on him the entire time, there would be no tension in the scene. There would be nothing. We would empathize with this guy, and we would like this guy, and we would see that this guy means her no harm. And maybe is he being totally honest? Is he not being honest? We don't know anything about him, but by empathizing with her, we go through her. I don't want to speak for you or for any viewer, but I hoped that we might go through whatever emotion she's feeling at any given moment, like she wants him to be quiet, she's interested, she's impressed, she may think, wow, this guy knows a lot more than I do, and look at my life compared to his. He's great at all these things, and who am I? And yet, he's the one driving the car. She may be thinking that. And so I wanted to, but through filming her, I think the scene has a certain tension, and but it's really because we're filtering it through her emotions, and but I did want you to question whether she has learned anything or does have the ability to empathize, and what empathy entails to begin with. Whether you have to, hear everybody out in every situation, or whether she's allowed to sort of, retreat into her shell, or whether her interest is, even if there's some condescension in her interest in him. I think so, but.
So you just said you don't want to speak for the public, so I'll have a look whether the public wants to speak for itself. Can the microphone please go to...
Well, I have a question for Albert. Before you were talking about Touché and this thing that he was dealing with film where there is mostly action and some moments of pure presence. I have the impression that you unbalance the thing and you do a lot of pure presence, but you still have some few moments of action. But at the end, maybe the result is that what is very strong in this film is all the action and the presence. I mean, this little thing that he does, touching his mustache or eating something, or I don't know, he does 2 or 3 things that are very, very strong because they're so little and they are surrounded by this pure presence. So that's what finally gets me, at least. I mean, I don't know the others, but.
The question.
I don't know if it is one.
Do you agree?
Yes, of course. My favorite moments, when it's what you don't see when you are there. It's what I said at the beginning of the, it's something that it's something that only the camera can reveal. It's impossible that if you are there, even if you are really, really concentrated of what you are seeing, you only can see this with this poetry, with this lyricism, and this is a little bit vulgar and easy, but with this, deepness, only with camera, not with eyes. It's impossible. I don't know why we are not able to see this. So in that moments are my favorite, obviously, but then this will be like a fetishist thing. I was scared that to put too much of these things will be a fetishist thing of just with the actors and this obvious, extremely beautiful beauty of acting, like a gesture on the on the air. That it doesn't matter what he does. It's always interesting. No, it doesn't matter not, but if it's in this concrete context, it's even more interesting and more mysterious. But we can say that it's easy. And then I wanted to to unbalance a little bit this beauty or with some strange, like to put a little bit of documentary of the performance and to put a little bit of, the idea of making a fictional film, which is ridiculous in this context, but you never know what's going on. And then at the very end to play a little bit with the anticlimax idea, which is very powerful with me. I discovered also with the camera, because you cannot, the anticlimax idea, because we always expect in a film, because it's so concentrated time, that there will be something interesting, I don't know, that there will be some points that will mark some marks on time. And then I was there in the performance the last day, and we announced that he will die. Really, the last day, because it will be the real day. It was an agony during the previous days, but the last day was the real day of dying, But he was incapable of doing that, because he didn't know what to do, because we didn't talk, so it was there as always for hours without saying how to do it, without knowing how to do it. And then people was there, and I thought, no, this is a very interesting moment. And people was there, and he didn't know how to do it, because people needs to a symbol of something in cinema. Everything is a symbol, in fact. Because you cannot represent literally reality, because it's not able to understand reality literally. So everything, it works as a symbol, not even narratively symbol. But so as he wasn't able to mark a symbol, it means he wasn't able to die because he was too fat. This is very interesting. People don't know until which point this is interesting. He was not able to die because he didn't know when to die and how to die, because he's not smart, and he didn't know because the swatch and blah, blah, blah. So, and obviously he thought that he should die, but he's fat. So as he's fat, he's not able to stop breathing. So it means that people that was in the performance, because he's fat and he cannot really make a symbol of dying. And then he was also on the floor, and on the floor, he was 1 minute and he was suffering so much from the position because he was lying on the floor that he has to move a little bit. So people didn't know that he was really dying. So this creates an anticlimax moment, what is very interesting because in cinema it's totally forbidden, this idea of anticlimax. And there we are in the art wall, so it is a performance. Well, it's shown here, but it's an advanced place. But in general, this idea of anticlimax moments are totally, extremely forbidden. So, and for me, it has some kind of embarrassing. On the film, you cannot see it. This is one of the points of the difference. We are trying to reproduce this idea, but it's better with our eyes and with our physical presence. And it's one of the points that the physical presence are better than the camera. But it's a point that I think that we can play with this in the future of cinema. So the idea of anticlimax that it became, especially nowadays, that you don't know what you feel and when is the climax of our lives, of our moments, that you can really do not recognize when you have a high point, or because our sensibility, it's so extremely, I don't know, formatted or I don't know, but
formatted.
Yeah, then there is something, and it's mediocre what you see in the film. I mean, it's not reproduced as it was so powerful in that. But okay, I will develop better in next films.
There's another
just
comment.
A few questions for both. First to you, Albert, because you were about to mention Manny Farber,
yes.
And then you stop it. And I would like to know in what sense you mentioned him, or you were inspired by him. And on the other hand, to you at the very beginning you quote Pauline Kael. You could have quote any other reference about beauty, but you have chosen that particular film critic. So I like to know both, if you can say something about that.
Well, the idea of Manny Farber is obviously that everything has to be on the edge. Manny Farber was an avant-garde film critic in the sense that, this idea that inspired, I don't know if directly or not, but Warhol that everything has to be on the edge. Every element of the film has not to be, placed according the main idea of the film, but, in the opposite side, on the edge of being not nice, not respectable, the actor has to act in a way that it's not according to the subject, and the subject has not been according to the decor, and the decor, everything has to be on the edge of falling down, and in this tension, you feel that there is something cinematographically, because if not, it will be real life. That everything is, because in real life you cannot modify things. So it means that it's not an artificial construction. So it means that everything it's vulgarly perfect, mediocrely perfect. So then you have everything on the edge creates some tension, and that was the magic of. So I always, and here is extremely developed. But this idea, it's always, for me, it has been very important since I read it the first time. That when I see Louis XIV, the death of Louis XIV will be an example of that, okay, there is some dialogue, some moments, but it's the film where this tension is less powerful. And I regret it, so for this I did this film. But this is very important. And Ingrid has worked, in a lot of films in the past, in the German, super avant-garde films, that everything was about that. About being on the edge of what is expected, being of the coherence of the whole thing. And now people, because of failure, because they are scared of failure, or they want success at all prices. But this tension, I think it's nice. It's a development of aesthetics. It's the only way to develop aesthetics.
Aaron?
I have no special affinity for Pauline Kael. I had read this quote, and it stuck with me. I don't necessarily agree with this quote, but when it was ironic. Yes, it was probably yes. I think it was ironic, but I had remembered this quote, and I thought I'm going to start the film with this quote. But while I was writing the script, I couldn't find the quote, and I found this other quote by her that was in a similar vein, but it was much more vague, and I thought, oh, this is not how I remembered it. It doesn't work. But as soon as I finished the script, I went back just to double check, and I found the quote was in one of her most famous reviews, I think the Bonnie and Clyde review, and it just fit perfectly as a sort of thesis question that the film goes on to explore. And yeah, I think it's ironic in a sense, but it's also, I think she speaks for a lot of people. So it just seemed like a great prologue to me. But in fact, it was sort of in my mind the whole time I was writing, but I had lost that quote and didn't find it again until I finished. And I did feel that it fit, like my film was an answer to that quote, even though I couldn't quite remember the quote. But fuck Pauline Kael.
Yes.
Well, this seems to be an end word. We've been here for a very long time, so thank you very much, all four of you. Horst Bredekamp, Ingrid, Caven, Serra, and Schimberg. Thank you.